Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Therefore, no current or prospective client should assume that the future performance of any specific investment strategy, including the investments and/or investment strategies recommended and/or purchased by advisor, or product made reference to directly or indirectly, will be profitable. Different types of investment involve varying degrees of risk, and there can be no assurance that any specific investment will either be suitable or profitable for a client's investment portfolio. No client or prospective client should assume that any information presented serves as the receipt of or substitute for personalized investment advice from the advisor or any other investment professional.
Welcome to the Bullington Capital Report, hosted by Bill Bullington. For the next hour, you'll receive information on current market conditions and trends that could affect your financial future. If you have a question, you can participate in today's program by calling 216-901-0945. That's 216-901-0WHK. You can also reach Bill by going to his website, bullingtoncapital.com. And now, here's Bill Bullington.
Well, welcome back. As the man said, this is Bill Bullington here every Saturday morning from 11 to noon. And I've got I think I have a good show today. Of course, I always think I have a good show prepared. Actually, I don't really, but yeah, I've got a guest coming on today. His name is Steve Clark, and he's an owner and licensed agent with Ohio Health Benefit, and he's a specialist in Medicare. And we've talked about this, mentioned it in passing over the past few months a couple times. And I started looking into it, and oh my Lord, that is unbelievably complicated. I just can't believe how much more complicated this has gotten over the years. It's been a while since I've taken a look at it, and I have a health insurance license, and I have a life insurance license. I'm just telling you, it is mind-boggling that this is as complicated as it is, and I just don't get it. I think what really is distressing is that people are making these decisions, when they're in their mid-60s. Many of them, a lot of them, they wait till they're eligible, and then they start looking. And I'm going to tell you, without getting the guidance of a professional who specializes in this particular area, you're probably going to make some mistakes. I know I would. Anyway, if Steve calls in, we'll get him on and ask him a few questions about the current conditions and better methodologies of deciding which of your options that you'd like to choose. And anyway, that'll be a little bit later in today's show. And also, I wanted to talk a lot today about investment performance. I get so many people, and I get it. I know what happens. The regular media is not your friend. Okay? They're not there to help you. I'm telling you. They're there to get clicks, and they need to get your attention. If you read or spend enough time on their website, or you go and you have your service streaming, they know what you're watching. Yeah, because you're paying for it, and they can track that stuff, and that's how they build people for advertising. So to be able to get your attention so that you'll see the ads, the material that they put out there is generally there just to get your attention and may not be very helpful. Actually, it could end up hurting you pretty significantly. I'll give you an example. So if you look at the Russell 3000 Index Fund, that's the S&P 500, the S&P 400, which is mid-cap, the S&P 600, which is small cap, so you got small, medium, and large, and then the next 1,500 stocks as well. So it's really a comprehensive fund. It's market cap weighted, which I'm not real crazy about, but the bottom line is it gives you a better picture, I think, than the S&P 500 does, and they're very close. You'll see that they're very close in line. But anyway, my point is that I've seen ads where they're saying, hey, look, market's up 14% this year. And what the average investor thinks is that the market's up 14% from its all-time high. So whatever that highest price was it ever reached, they're up 14% from that. That's what they think. And by the way, the people that put those ads together or those stories together, they know that you're thinking that. And it gets you upset because you go, hey, wait a minute, I'm not up 14%. I'm still down almost 12% from where I was in 2021. And what year is it again? 2023? That's my point. The Russell 3000 index, it has the S&P 500, the large, medium, small cap companies in there. By the way, half of the stocks in the larger group, in the Russell 1000, those are the big, large companies, Google, Amazon. Half the revenues in those bigger companies comes from overseas. That's another reason I'm not too crazy on putting my money in overseas funds. I'm just not that thrilled about it. And when you look at the performance of those things over the past 5 and 10 years, you see why. You have to invest in those, by the way, if you're going to adhere to some of the quote unquote prudent man rules. You know what? I'm not even going to go down that path. That upsets me so badly that the government's telling your investment advisors how to manage your money for you, and they threaten to they'll put you out of business if you don't. And they have you holding these asset classes that nobody knows why you're holding them because they're lagging, and it's rough. I mean, it's really rough. But anyway, I'll have to come back to that at some point in time. But so if I look at the Russell 3000, that's the large cap, mid cap, small cap. Basically, it's almost every stock that's big enough for a fund to be allowed to invest in. Funds that are offered to the public are not allowed to hold penny stocks. They just don't do that. And these are companies that are big enough, according to the SEC guidelines and FINRA, some other government bodies in there. They're big enough to be allowed to be included in those. And if you look at that number of 3,000, it actually peaked in December of 2021. And that was at a price level that was actually 11% higher. Let me put it this way. It's down 11% from then. Okay? And that's, you're talking about, it's almost 2 years. So, and the reason I'm spending so much time on this is people are getting really frustrated. They're starting to call. We're taking a lot of questions. Why is the market? I heard this guy on CNBC that said the market's making a new all-time high, and no, it wasn't a new all-time high. It was a 1-year high, or a high for this year. The all-time high was 2 years ago. Oh, they didn't say that. I know they did, because that doesn't sell ads. If I come in and tell you, look, the market's down from its all-time high from 2 years ago, are you excited about that? No, you're not. But if I say, hey, market's making a new 1-year high, you go, oh, yeah, great. Sorry. It's just really misleading. And that's one of the things that, the media, it's unreal how much research I have to do based on things people heard, or, somebody said something, or they thought they heard something some way. And then you go get online. Oftentimes you can find the stories because they'll be in the popular media categories. But it makes me waste an awful lot of time just having to go back and do the research on a lot of this stuff. Most of it I don't really have to spend that much time on it as long as I've been doing this. But yeah, occasionally somebody will come up with some stock somewhere that's obscure, and that can take, I don't know, probably 30, 40 minutes if, on a bad day. just enough to get under my skin, that's all. But the good news is, the economy's, I would have thought that the economy would have done a lot, would have slowed down a lot more than it slowed down. And looking ahead, a lot of the projects that they're working on, it's okay. We will have GDP growth. The economy should continue to keep growing. It might have 2, 3 quarters, maybe 4 quarters, where it goes down or slows down or maybe even turns negative. And if that happens, there are some things that, actually, there are some things you can do now to reduce the effect of a slowing economy, because that is going to have an impact on stocks, and share prices could drop fairly significantly from there. But I just got a notice that I've got my guest today is on the line. Hey, Steve, are you there?
Yes, I am, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in pretty clear. That's pretty
Great.
nice.
Great.
So at the beginning of the show, I let people know you'd be coming on, and this is Steve Clark, and he's the president and I guess owner of Ohio Health Benefit.
Yep.
And you guys do a lot of work with Medicare, and I have to tell you, when you sent the questions over and I started looking at, I haven't really looked at that stuff probably since I got my health insurance license. Which was a long time ago. And I just cannot believe the level of sophistication that they've added to Medicare. I mean, the choices, it's unbelievable. And so I'm glad you're coming on.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, in Northeast Ohio leads the country with the most plan offerings than any other state or any other, the Northeast Ohio counties in any other county in the country. So that adds more to the confusion. But there's over 80 plans somebody can choose with when you're looking at Medicare Advantage plans. So definitely sophisticated and confusing, I guess, is a few words to describe it.
Yes. And now you know what it feels like to be me.
Right.
Yeah, there are several. There are more funds now than there are stocks. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
People know that. Yeah, and I just laugh about that all the time. I think it still makes a difference in your job, though. I mean, it could make a huge difference. You make a mistake on that, and it's just the liabilities or potential liabilities are just astronomical. And as far as I'm concerned, I've seen members of my family pass away. Just in the last 3 years, I've lost 3 family members, and it is a nightmare. I mean, the bills and just making sure that you're not paying something that the insurance company is supposed to be paying for. It would really help if they had somebody like you to look over what they're doing before they get sick.
Yeah, right. It's an interesting point. We deal with other financial planners and also maybe guys or gals that do property and casualty insurance, and they may at one time have dabbled in trying to figure out Medicare. And I had an agent, a financial guy in the Youngstown area, call me one time and say, "Hey, I've been in business like 20 years. I've never been sued, but I've been sued 2 times in the last couple of years because of a Medicare issue. And we're just doing it to help people, and now it's getting me in trouble. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And so, can I turn my people your way?" And it's like, of course you can. And that's the point. It's certainly crazy complicated, and you just have to keep on top of it, including the government changes that come from year to year, the plan changes, new carriers entering the market, carriers exiting the market, and things like that. Just adds more to the complexity and challenges of what to do. So yeah, we're good at what we do. We're very, very focused on the Medicare markets. We've been in business, since 2004. We've got 15,000 plus clients. So it's all we do, all day, every day kind of thing. So we feel like we're definitely on top of it.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. I like I said, I'm just amazed. It's been a long time ago. I with the continuing education requirements, I get to escape having to know a lot of the Medicare rules, and I was just flabbergasted when I started looking into this. So I'm really glad you're here. And again, this is Steve Clark. He's the owner and licensed agent of Ohio Health Benefit. And Steve, why don't you give them your website address in case they wanted to go out and look you up.
Yeah, so our website is ohiohealthbenefits.net. So the company name, Ohio Health Benefits, there's an S in .net. I encourage people to take a look at it to see what we're all about. We're proud of what we do. We hit 130 Google 5-star reviews this week. We've got lots and lots of satisfied customers. So yeah, that's how they can get a hold of us. Go to the website, and then there's a contact button, and you can reach out to contact us if you want to make the contact, and we can give some advice and direction.
Right. So, if somebody wanted to reach out, also they can just contact my office as well, and I'll direct you there. But it's ohiohealthbenefits.net, ohiohealthbenefits.net. You always have to say that like 3 or 4 times because people are driving, and I feel bad if somebody got into a wreck and had to use their Medicare because of just kidding.
Excuse me.
Probably never happened.
Yeah, and we are .net. I wish we were .com, but it just didn't. We couldn't get that domain name, and it's not worth the money. But yeah, so yep, good point.
Yep, yeah. And again, if you're driving in your car, you can always contact us, and I'll point you in the right direction. I am so glad. Actually, it was a long-time listener, and a lady. They had come to a couple of my seminars that recommended that I get in touch with you, and I am so glad that she made that recommendation and that I did that. Because it's I had no idea how complex it had become. It was, I don't know, it's probably been minimally 5 or 6 years since the last time I took a look at it. That's a minimum. But I just can't believe how hard this is. And in America,
it's good.
No, go ahead.
It's more complex, and part of it is the fact that there's government rules that change from year to year, and they're making things tighter and actually more of a challenge and more difficult for agents. So at first blush, you'd think we'd be bothered by that, but really what they're doing is trying to root things out or root out the bad apples, because unfortunately there are some bad apples in this business. And so, you see the commercials on TV, they've changed those a little bit and what they're saying, although the commercials are still exaggerating the truth a little bit. And now there's call recording rules where we have to record calls when we're talking with a Medicare person about their plan options, and you have to agree to an appointment, 48 hours before the appointment. So unfortunately, those rules have all been put in place that agents have to follow, and if they don't follow the rules, they could lose their ability to sell products, including they could lose their license. Those, unfortunately, were created because there were agents doing things that they shouldn't be doing, including phone calls. People get lots and lots of phone calls, and they're not allowed to. You're not allowed to cold call. You're not allowed to make those phone calls. So.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, I got to take a real quick commercial break. Do you want to hang on?
For sure. Go.
Oh. All right. Well, this is Steve Clark and Bill Bullington. We'll be back right after these commercial messages.
Today we live, today we breathe, today we know that we are strong when we are weak.
3 words my dad drummed into us boys all our life. The 3 words that define why it works.
Consider it done.
We talk a lot about Wallackadoodle, which is making it feel like everything was fixed by magic. But that's really the icing on the cake. The cake itself is...
Consider it done.
Because a plumbing problem's a rather unpleasant interruption to your day.
Nobody calendars in time to deal with an unexpectedly broken water heater, or sewer line clog, or burst pipe.
So what you want, in one sense, is to have one of our straight-talking, hard-working, do-it-right plumbers fix it for you.
But really, you want the whole issue taken off your plate, so you can get back to your regularly scheduled life.
That's what Consider It Done means. As soon as you call us, you can consider it done. Problem solved, fixed, and fixed right.
So the next time a plumbing problem interrupts your day, just call us and...
Consider it done at WyattWorks.com.
It's an operation that is still growing thanks to tremendous support and generous donations like the Wayside's car donation program. You can donate your ride to the Wayside for a great tax write-off by calling 1-800-368-6262. The Wayside is also looking for people to join their team. They hire for attitude and train for skills. Visit thewayside.org to apply today.
Do you ever find yourself saying, I need a vacation? Vacation Fixation can help. At Vacation Fixation, we specialize in all-inclusive trips and cruises to Mexico, the Caribbean, and Disney vacations. Why choose us? Our clients book through Vacation Fixation because they are frustrated with online trip brokers and timeshare scams. Whether it's a weekend getaway, a family trip, spring break, or honeymoon, Vacation Fixation will personalize a trip just for you. Want to know the hottest destinations in Cancun, Punta Cana, Jamaica, or Puerto Vallarta? Interested in room upgrades, beach reviews, or details about resort restaurants? How about finding a trip with a direct flight? At Vacation Fixation, we take all of your specific travel requests and shop our suppliers to find the best deal. What's the cost? Our suppliers pay us so you don't have to. Call 330-573-8147 for more details. Or you can visit our website at vacationfixation.com or check out the deal of the day on Facebook. Vacation Fixation.
Is it finally time to update your bathroom? Bath Planet, a division of Joyce Factory Direct, specializes in replacing and converting old showers and tubs into new, beautiful bathrooms in as little as one day. We have transformed thousands of bathrooms just like yours into a spa-like oasis that has homeowners excited to use their new bathtub or shower. Right now, all bath installations are 50% off. So call to schedule a free consultation with on-the-spot pricing. 440-243-5700 or visit JoyceFactoryDirect.com.
All right. Hey, today you've got Bill and Steve, and we're going to go to the phones. If you'd like to call in, the phone number is 216-901-0945. I'm hearing an echo in my head. It's stopping me a little bit. But, well, caller, go ahead. What was your question? A little dead air there. It's a technical difficulties, I guess.
We'll do. Okay, how's that?
Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I have a question regarding Medicare. It's my understanding when you sign up for Medicare, you have the option of going Medicare Advantage or traditional Medicare with a supplement policy. And I guess if you opt for the supplement policy with traditional Part B, there's like a 6-month window where you can go ahead and get that policy without any underwriting. But after that time, if say you have Medicare Advantage, you want to switch back to traditional Medicare, you have to undergo underwriting, take a physical, prove you're in good health before they'll take you on. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me answer that. That's partially correct. So when you first enroll in Part B, and because you turned age 65, or even if you're delayed your B because you were working and then you're ready to retire, you do have that 6-month window where you can enroll into any one of the Medicare supplement plans within the 6 months and not have to answer medical underwriting questions. If you choose to enroll into a Medicare Advantage plan, we call Path 1 being the Medicare Supplement, Original Medicare, and Path 2 being a Medicare Advantage plan. But a person who enrolls into a Medicare Advantage plan for the first time when they become Medicare eligible, they have a 12-month window, and this is a government rule, where they can choose to leave the Medicare Advantage plan and go to a Medicare Supplement plan without having to go through underwriting. So that 12-month window, it starts from the time the Medicare supplement starts. So even though there's this annual enrollment period going on now, for somebody who's in their first year of being on Medicare Advantage plan, they don't have to wait for the annual enrollment period. they can make the change anytime during that first 12-month period. And if they made the change, the plan would be effective the first of the following month. However, if you are past that 12-month period, and this addresses what you've heard, and then you want to make a move to a Medicare supplement, then you do have to wait for the open enrollment period, the annual enrollment period, which is the October 1st to December 7th deadline. And you would make the change during that time, but you would have to answer medical underwriting questions. Now, there are no physicals. There's no blood work. It's not as complex as like applying for life insurance, but there's questions that each carrier has. They're similar from company to company, but things like, are you being treated for cancer? Do you have a hospital stay? Do you need to have a joint replacement? Are you being treated for dementia or Alzheimer's disease? And questions like that, if you say yes to it, the company will do one of two things, and it depends on the insurance company. Some of them will say, well, you just don't get the plan, or they'll say you can have the plan, but the rate's going to be higher. So you got the one-time 12-month window to change your mind if you like, and then after that 12-month window, you can still go to original Medicare. That's no problem. But if you want to have the supplement to pick up the 20%, that's when you would have to answer the medical questions to see if you're approved or not. So, yeah, good question.
Yeah. One other question, if I may.
Sure.
Is it true that Medicare Part B with the supplement gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of going to any doctor or health institution you want to go to without having to go through a gatekeeper like you do with Advantage?
That is true. So, when we meet with people, we spend about 45 minutes talking about the differences between Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement. And one of the advantages of having original Medicare and a Medicare Supplement plan is the ability to go see any doctor, any hospital, anywhere throughout the country that's willing to accept your Medicare card. And with Medicare Advantage plans, you do have to stay within the network. Now, most of the plans don't really have the gatekeeper model. They don't require referrals, but you do have to stay within the network unless it's an emergency or urgent situation. So, yes, you do have a larger pool of doctors and hospitals, if you will, if you have original Medicare than if you were on a Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay, great. All right, thanks for the info. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for calling. That reminds me, there's and this doesn't pertain specifically to Medicare, although I'm sure that a lot of people are under the same circumstances, but 50% of all bankruptcies that get filed in the United States are from people who have medical expenses that they can't pay for out of their pocket. And most people assume that they just don't have health insurance, when in fact, fully 50% of the people that are filing have health insurance. And health insurance hasn't covered everything. So based on
you're seeing higher and higher deductibles on plans, employer plans, and if you're running your budget, paycheck to paycheck or month to month, and you don't have much in your savings account, and you encounter a medical condition, and you now have a $5,000 or $10,000 bill because that's what your deductible is. That could cause that for sure. And that is. I've heard the same statistic. The number one leading cause of bankruptcy in this country is medical bills.
Right. Yeah. And I was just shocked that literally 50% of the people had health insurance. I wonder what percentage of them knew that they had liability that they weren't aware of. That would be an interesting question. But anyway.
We talked to a lot of people about their plans. They'd say, "Hey, I'm thinking about leaving my employer plan and going on Medicare." And the first part of doing that evaluation is we have to know what they have now. And most people don't know what they have, including me. Before I was in this business, if you asked me what my deductible was, I wouldn't know the answer. Usually when we say, what's your deductible, people pull out their card and say, well, I have a $25 copay. Well, that's not a deductible. And we say they don't print your deductible on your card. So, people, unfortunately, you don't really know what you have until you use it. So if you're going along fine and not using it, it's not a problem. But then when you go to use it, you might be surprised at that point.
Right. So you guys are the specialists. Do you do small group health insurance as well?
Yeah. We do small group and health. Yeah, we do. We there's three legs to the stool. We do the Medicare and then we do small group. And for us, we're talking about small groups. We're looking at groups of 100 employees or less, generally. And then we also do the individual market. So people who maybe are retiring early, you're 60 years old and you've done well and you're ready to retire, and you've got to bridge that gap between age 60 to 65 when Medicare starts in, and then you're looking at the Affordable Care Act or the Obamacare plans. We're certified and licensed to enroll people in ACA and Obamacare plans as well. So that's kind of the three legs of what we do. So all health insurance related.
Oh, wow. So again, this is Steve Clark. By the way, he's an owner, the owner of my computer just blinked out on me. Ohio Health Benefits.
Ohio Health Benefits. Yep.
Yes, OhioHealthBenefits.net. And man, I'm really glad you came on. We'll have to get you on a more regular basis, because this is a major expense category, and I'm telling you, they just toss these people out there to feed them to the sharks. It's just it blows my mind that nobody's able to really help out people in this part of their financial lives, because it's incredibly important, and everybody's going to have to deal with it at some point in time.
Right.
Everybody deals with it. So
yeah.
Again, yeah. So Steve, was there anything that you wanted to add today?
I would say on that, we do get calls from people who are ready to retire, and they hadn't thought about their medical, and we start to talk about it, and we say, say you're 60 years old, and we'll say, hey, make sure you get your information on COBRA. And the general reaction is people saying, well, I would never do COBRA. It's way too expensive. And my response to that is, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. If you look at some of these Affordable Care Act plans, and if you're not getting subsidies, they're very high deductible, very limited network, and very expensive. So you definitely want to think about that before you pull the trigger on the retirement, for sure.
Right, absolutely. Well, Steve, I'm really glad that you had the time or took the time to come on our program today. That's awesome. That should help people. And you're listening out there, and you'd like to get in touch with Steve, again, I'll let you give out your name and your phone number and website.
Yep. So Steve Clark. The company is Ohio Health Benefits, and our office is in Talmadge. We also have an office in Hiram, but we service the whole state of Ohio, and with a focus on the Northeast section. But the phone number is 330-633-7713. So 330-633-7713, and our website is ohiohealthbenefits.net. So benefits has got an S on the end, ohiohealthbenefits.net. Yeah, thanks, Bill. I really appreciate you letting me come on.
Oh, no, it's been very helpful. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good rest of the weekend.
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you want to get in touch with them, by the way, you can also email me, and I can forward you the information. So if you want to go to bullingtoncapital.com and just go to the contact us form and say, can you send me the link to that guy's website? This stuff is really important. I mean, healthcare costs are astronomical, and it's not like they're getting any easier. So I'm just glad to, and actually for one of the listeners, actually, and I didn't get her permission to use her name, which I have to do, by the way, so maybe I can call her out next week. And she actually introduced me, and so I think that was a really good thing to do. I appreciate that. Appreciate him coming on the show today. Again, it's something that you don't want to fool around with. Probably start shopping. I would probably say as soon as I turn 64, I would start taking a look at it, because time gets away from you, and this is not something that you want to wait until the last minute for. But that's like a lot of things. The earlier, the better. So, again, I guess you go back to financial markets. I was just looking, and I started talking about this earlier in today's show, but talk about planning. When you're planning on your investment, a lot of people look at returns, and they immediately equate that into a return like a fixed annuity or a CD, where it's going to pay me a certain percentage per year, or it's going to average a certain percentage per year, and they don't talk about, or they don't think too much about what happens when the market goes down. Depending on the time period you're looking at and how long you're looking at, market averages somewhere between 7 and 10% a year over most 10-year time periods. There are a lot of 10-year time periods where it doesn't. There are only a few that it's significantly higher than that, but there are a lot of them that are significantly lower than that. So if you are coming into retirement, this is a mistake I see all the time. They go, oh, the stock market averages 10% a year, right? And that's the number that they use to try to calculate the income they're going to get off of their investment. Bad idea. I mean, a horrible idea. There's a really good chance that you would end up running out of money before you retired if you came in and said, yeah, I'm going to take 10% a year out. No. Actually, there are bunches of studies that say you probably shouldn't take much more than 4%. But CDs are paying 5%. I know that. And despite that fact, if you go back to the early 1900s and started taking out, you went through World War II, you went through hyperinflation of the 60s and 70s, you went through the housing crisis that came on in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. Yeah, you've gone through all that stuff. The average return's still pretty high, but it fluctuates so much that if you were taking out much more than 4% and then increasing that for inflation each year, we'll come back to that in a little bit. But if you started out taking out more than 4%, there's a pretty good chance that you run out of money before you pass away. And we want to avoid that if we can. Yes, I'll just leave it there. Because if you don't understand not running out of money, then there's probably not a lot I can do for you anyway. But I'm just kidding, kind of. So we've got a market here that peaked out in December 2021. It's 2023 now, and it's still down 10.85%. But you go to CNBC, and they're saying, I've watched it yesterday, a new one-year high. It's up 14.5%. And people are getting upset. Why are they getting upset? Because they don't tell you that the market peaked 2 years ago and is still down from there. So this is me letting you know that, the average stock fund and even the above average fund are showing negative returns over the past couple of years. And if you measured from the bottom, it would be lovely if you could figure out where that was ahead of time. That would be great. But nobody that I know has ever had that ability to do that more than one or two times in a row. And in other words, pick a one-year bottom and invest your money right there. If you do get it, it's going to be luck. And you probably won't be able to replicate that. And trying to jump in and jump out like that is just not a good idea. It's just not. So how do you do it then? Well, you have to take a look at what kind of a risk taker are you really? What kind of a risk taker are you? And then you build your portfolio around that, and then you try to stick to it. You don't change your mind because the market's down. You don't change your mind because the market's up a lot. And that's probably the hardest part. It's having that discipline to hang in there and take it, and having the discipline to not get too greedy. Those are really hard emotions to deal with, fear and greed. But that's, you've got to get control of that. And it's not that hard. It gets a little more difficult as you get older. I'm going to tell you. You're getting tired. And on that note, I've got to take a real quick commercial break. This is Bill Bullington right here on 1420. Stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Three words my dad drummed into us boys all our life. The three words that define why it works.
Consider it done.
We talk a lot about Wallacadoodle, which is making it feel like everything was fixed by magic, but that's really the icing on the cake. The cake itself is...
Consider it done.
Because a plumbing problem's a rather unpleasant interruption to your day.
Nobody calendars in time to deal with an unexpectedly broken water heater, or sewer line clog, or burst pipe.
So what you want, in one sense, is to have one of our straight-talking, hard-working, do-it-right plumbers fix it for you.
But really, you want the whole issue taken off your plate, so you can get back to your regularly scheduled life.
That's what consider it done means. As soon as you call us, you can consider it done. Problem solved, fixed, and fixed right.
So the next time a plumbing problem interrupts your day, just call us and
consider it done at WyattWorks.com.
No doubt about it, we're spending more time at home, which is the perfect time to make it more functional and beautiful. Hi, Ed Flash Ferentz here for Artistic Renovations, Northeast Ohio's premier and award-winning remodeler. Artistic did a fantastic job with our kitchen in 2016, and last year, they were back for the master bath. Oh my word. Do yourself a favor and go to artisticreno.com. Believe me, you'll love their ideas and without question the finished product. For a virtual consultation, call 216-520-0838 or visit artisticreno.com. You've heard the saying, all good things come to an end. Well, not always. Sometimes they just take a break. That's what's happening with Our Lady of the Wayside's car donation program after 24 years and 96,000 rides donated. Pretty amazing. Here's the story. The car lot's owners sold the property, making it impossible for car donations to be accepted at this time. According to the Wayside CEO, Terry Davis, the next right steps will be determined and communicated soon, so stay tuned. In the meantime, Terry and the entire team at the Wayside thank you for your continued support of the 450 individuals with developmental disabilities in the Wayside's care. And please take note, you can still support them by making a donation at thewayside.org. Thinking about updating your home? Well, Joyce Factory Direct specializes in replacing old, outdated windows. Proudly made right here in Cleveland, Joyce Windows features their exclusive Smart Shield high-performance glass, which means you'll be getting the most energy-efficient windows for your home directly from the factory. Customers just love how much warmer their house is and how easy their new windows operate and clean. Right now, you can save 50% on all installations. Just call to schedule a free consultation with on-the-spot pricing, 440-243-5700, or visit joycefactorydirect.com.
Well, welcome back. This is Bill Bullington. I'm here every Saturday morning from 11 to noon, right on 1420. I don't know if you've noticed, but the signal comes in a lot clearer now. They've really done a lot with that, so that's good to know. We're just talking with a Medicare specialist. His name is Steve Clark. If you want to get more information, please feel free to give me a call, or you can go to his website. And let's see. Now, I was looking at, for the last few minutes, I'm going to talk about the stock market and also fixed accounts. You know, the interest rates have been creeping up. And so I'll just give you a real quick example. And one of the reasons that I like to do these is because, you know, there's a really high chance that maybe the market long-term averages are going to be down from where they were over the past 40 or 50 years. I could see only getting somewhere around a 6 or 7% return. That's completely within the realm of all possibilities. And I'm saying that because of valuations on stocks, even though they're lower than they were at their all-time high, they're still not underpriced. You know, there are very few stocks that are undervalued, especially that are the more popular ones, Apple, Google, you know, Intel. They're not grossly overpriced, but you can go sideways for an incredibly long time period. And if you're getting close to retirement time and have to start taking money out of that, very upsetting. If you're already retired and taking money out, super upsetting. And so anyway, what's an alternative? Well, one of them is called a fixed indexed annuity. What does that mean? Well, fixed means that they have a schedule of distributions that they will make depends on your age and when you decide to start, but they will publish that schedule and they'll give it to you. And actually, I'm going to give you a website that you can go to if you want to email me. I'll just email you the link back, and you can go play around on the website and put your own information in there. And like this is one that I did. This would be somebody that's 66. They're going to be 67 next year. With this particular product, you have to wait 1 year to turn the income on. And I decided that if you put $100,000 in at 66, it's going to give you $7,750, and that's on a graph, and I'm pulling that right off the website. So if you want to see that, again, just hit me up at bullingtoncapital.com, Bill at Bullington Capital, and I'll send you a link. Or you can call and you can make an appointment. We can talk about it that way as well. But you go the first year, if you wanted to take the income right away, that $100,000 would give you $7,750. That's a single person, and it's guaranteed income for life. There are some key differences with this and other types of annuities. There are literally thousands of products out there. In general, the options are probably still in the over 100, but this one has a guaranteed income for your lifetime. Depending on when you decide to turn it on, they will publish a schedule and give you that schedule. So if you decided to wait, for example, if they wanted to wait until it was 70 or she, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, by the way, instead of turning on to $7,750, it would be $10,028. That's a good rate. That's a really good rate. It'd be incredibly difficult to do that with the stock market, and you might be able to do it, but it's not going to be without a lot of risk, and you're going to have to put up with a lot of fluctuation. The fluctuation we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show. So I think these have for the longest time, I was not a big fan. Why? Well, because the valuations on stocks were a lot cheaper. 10 years ago, they were a lot cheaper than they are today. And but that's not the way it is now. Valuations on stocks are relatively high. And the closer you get to retirement and needing to rely on those assets to produce enough income for you to maintain your lifestyle, you want to look more towards guaranteed stuff. And right now, the guaranteed stuff has guarantees that are going to be incredibly difficult for markets to keep up with. Do I think they can? Yeah, they could. And I hope they do, because I've got a lot of money invested in that. And the bigger portion of my savings, retirement savings, is in the stock market. But I have the fixed index too. Why? Well, it's a cushion. I'm building a cushion there of income that even if that stuff goes to crap, I don't really have to touch it for at least another 15 years. And so I won't have to worry about it. Why? Because I've got the guaranteed side, and that takes care of my basic expenses between that and Social Security. And I guess what this is all getting down to is that, to have a conversation about it is not that hard to do. I listen to a lot of financial planning shows, and they love to go into great detail, and that's fine. And there are certain areas where you need somebody who's really detail-oriented because it's just a really complicated area, and that is unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is now. It's one of the reasons I had Steve Clark come on and the Ohio Health Benefits talk about the Medicare supplements, because it's gotten unbelievably complicated. And that's where you're going to need a specialist now. You're probably going to need a tax specialist, because everybody knows taxes are super easy, right? And you probably need somebody who has some estate planning experience with elder law. That's kind of a big deal, and I'm working on having somebody come on and talk about those topics. And then your financial stuff, I think a good advisor can provide stuff that's invaluable. point you in the right direction when you need something that's outside of investing or managing your money, like, here's insurance you probably might want to take a look at. That's a big deal for most financial advisors. You need to look out for your clients and try to help them protect what they've accumulated. That's really important. So anyway, if you can't tell, a little bit passionate about that. I think everybody's life should be as easy as it possibly can be. Unfortunately, you've got a bunch of people writing laws out there. They call them congressmen. You may have heard of them. They don't want to make your life easy at all. The more they can confuse you on other issues, the more they can get away with, as far as I'm concerned. But no, they just make it really tough. I'm just amazed at the level of complexity that all this stuff has come to. And but anyway, I've got about 5 or 6 minutes left here. If you have a call, the number is 216-901-0945 here in the radio station. And again, if you want to call me in the office, 330-664-0700. And if you want to get Steve Clark's contact information and you missed it, I'll give it to you once again. His phone number is 330-633-7713. And you can always drop us a line, bill@bullingtoncapital.com, and ask to speak to him. I am so glad that Marianne introduced me to this guy. And I forgot to get her permission to mention her name because she works with them and does work with them. She's independent. But anyway, that was very, very kind, and glad to maybe we'll have her call in next week. But this is such an important area. Like I was saying earlier, 50% of bankruptcies in the United States are coming from medical expenses. And literally half of those people had health insurance. And they didn't get the coverage that they needed. And they didn't know it. As I'm sure if they'd have known it, they would have probably changed their coverage. That's a big deal. Protecting your assets is half the battle. Making money is nice. Making money with guarantees is really nice, especially when those guarantees, again, I got somebody who's 66 years old, puts money in, and next in 12 months can start taking it out, and it's going to be 7 3/4. That's going to be guaranteed for the rest of their life. By the way, the reason I like this particular product is if you got hit by a bus the next day, 100% of what you put into it goes to your beneficiaries. It doesn't go to the insurance company. Okay, so that's a big deal. If you got a wife, you have kids, if let's say you started spending and you've only spent $15,000, the market crashed, everybody else's assets are down, cut in half, and you read the paper, have a heart attack, you're gone. They'll take actually the amount you started with, take that $15,000 out that you took out, and minimally, then they'll compare the investment because you get the higher of the two. If the investment value is more than $85,000, you get that. But if it dropped below $85,000, your family will get the $85,000. That's pretty good. You can't make those guarantees with things like exchange traded funds, which are my favorite way to buy stocks. We'll talk more about that next week because we're getting pretty close to the end of the show. But if I'm going to invest in stocks, my favorite vehicle today is either buy a stock directly, and I wouldn't recommend that you do that if you don't have a lot of time on your hands, but there are some big tax advantages to using exchange-traded funds that, again, we'll breach that topic next week. And very, very useful. And I have both. I have both individual stocks and ETFs. And the stocks I buy, I only buy quality. And maybe we'll go through that process next week. I'll take a few minutes out, like I'm doing today, and talk about the individual stock picking process if you have any interest in that. It's not that hard today if you know where to look. And there's a book that was written, I think it's one of the best books that's ever written, about how to invest in stocks. And it's the little book that still beats the market. And maybe I'll even get some questions together and give a couple out if people can answer the questions, and they'll be softball questions, by the way. Yeah, I'll even give you a hint. Look up the definition of price to sales ratio. That's my favorite indicator, price to sales ratio. Yeah, and I just got the hint that I got to go. So appreciate it, everybody. This is Bill Bullington here every Saturday morning from 11 to noon. Have a good weekend, good luck, and good investing.
You just caught another edition of the Bullington Capital Report, broadcasting every Saturday at 11 a.m. on AM 1420, The Answer. If you have a question and you'd like to speak to Bill personally, you can call him at 330-664-0700. That's 330-664-0700. Or online at bullingtoncapital.com. That's bullingtoncapital.com.
The preceding program has been paid for by Bullington Capital Management, LLC.